Hey viewers, Damien here. Why do we suffer with low self-esteem? Well, on a simple level, it's because there are things about ourselves that we're not happy with. We're too ugly, we're not tall enough, we're not strong enough, we aren't rich enough, we have a bald patch that we want to hide from the world. And yet, we all know millionaires who are constantly trying to prove themselves to the world. Or, gym junkies, guys and gals who go to the gym every single day, they're fit, they're in amazing shape, and yet they can't handle the slightest bit of criticism because their self-esteem simply can't handle it. Self-esteem isn't really about what we do or don't have. Instead, it's about the stories that we tell ourselves inside our own heads. We tell ourselves a story that if I'm going bald, which I slowly am, that women won't find me attractive. It's the story that I tell myself that if I don't have enough money, people won't take me seriously. It's the story that I tell myself not just about how I feel about myself, but how others are going to judge me. So I perhaps tell myself the story that I shouldn't go out in public, dressed really casually because people are going to judge me as being, unintelligent or being unworthy in some way. So I'm constantly worried not just about how I judge myself, but how others judge me. And so what we do is we try to, well, some of us try to change the way that we judge ourselves. We try to silence that inner critic. But how successful has that been for you in the past? I often find that trying to silence my inner critic is me being critical of my judgment for myself. So I'm judging myself for being too critical of myself. It's like this never-ending loop. And it never seems to make anything better. So instead, one of the really powerful secret ingredients to improving self-esteem is to stop looking at you and instead look at how you judge other people. Because that very same inner critic that judges you so harshly judges other people exactly the same. It's that exact same voice at play. I mean, think about the people you know with the lowest self-esteem. How judgmental are they of other people? My guess is incredibly. I've worked in the dating industry as a dating coach for, almost a decade. And yeah, I mean, when I work with women who have a really low self-esteem, those are the women who will say, he doesn't have enough money, he's not a real man. Those are the women who will say, if a guy doesn't have a degree, then he's obviously a lazy human being. And it's the men with low self-esteem who are like, all women are heartless bitches who don't care, who only out to serve themselves. It's not the men and women with a high self-esteem, the happy people who are having these judgmental thoughts about others. So to change the way that we judge other people, to go about this, I kind of look at this in there's two parts to it. Step number one is just to become aware of how judgmental we are. I mean, I had absolutely no idea just how judgmental I was of other people. Like, I honestly had no clue until I started setting an alarm. I set an alarm on my phone, and it would go off 3, 4, 5 times a day. And every time it went off, I'd sort of think about, had I made any judgments about people? Had I done this? And oh my God, I was horrible to other people. In my head, everyone was a lazy, poor excuse for a human being that didn't really match up to my standards and expectations. And it was horrific because I'd never seen myself in this light before. I always thought I was a pretty nice, accepting human being. And, so then that moves me on to step 2, which is once I started to become aware of how judgmental I was of other people, then I would go on to step 2, and that was to start working to catch myself and to work on having empathy for other people. So, I used to always be really harsh, really judgmental of overweight people. So, I might see an overweight woman and my instant thought would be, oh my God, what a fat, lazy slob. And then I would catch myself and I'd think, whoa, wait a minute. I know that, overeating tends to be something that happens when we're depressed or unhappy or feeling really strung out and stressed. And maybe right now, whatever's going on in this woman's life is eating food feels like one of her only available coping mechanisms. And it's certainly better than turning to drugs or any other coping mechanisms that are out there. Or perhaps she was unlucky and grew up in a household or in a friend environment where no one really taught her good habits about diet or exercise. And through no fault of her own, she's picked up these really bad habits, where I was lucky and grew up in a family that was really health conscious. And so I didn't have to work so hard to build these healthy habits for myself. And so little bit by little bit, I started to have more empathy and compassion for people around me that I otherwise would have judged harshly. And almost in perfect lockstep with that, I started to judge myself and have a lot more compassion for myself. All this started to happen less and less and less. And I would stop worrying about other people being judgmental of me. All of a sudden, I wasn't felt so locked, like I had to behave a certain way lest I'd be judged harshly. Because I didn't worry about other people judging me harshly because I wasn't judging others harshly. I never realized that the two went hand in hand. They were part of that exact same internal voice. And I think that I held on to it for such a long time because I truly believed that having a strong inner critic was part of the reason that I was going to be successful in life. Like I believed that, the being judgmental about myself meant that I would feel compelled and motivated to work out more, to work harder, to try to make more money, to do all these things to self-improve. And if I wasn't being judgmental, then I just wouldn't bother and I'd never become a better human being. But the reality was that all this self-judgment was creating so much shame that I could never really get the ball rolling. It was keeping me locked in place because I felt so horrible about myself. And once I let go, I realized I didn't need self-judgment to become a better human being. Actually, the self-judgment was what was holding me back. And I know it's the same for a lot of people I know struggling with low self-esteem who are really judgmental. That's often one of the big reasons they hold on to it so strongly. So tell me, viewers, are any of you feeling compelled to give this a try? Would any of you say, give yourselves a month, set your alarm 4 times a day, and catch yourself as often as possible anytime you're being critical of someone else, and then try to replace those critical thoughts with compassionate, feeling thoughts, trying to work out how are they struggling? How could I feel for them instead of just judging them as being weak or, insufficient in some way? Let me know. If you're going to take on this challenge, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. I'm so hugely passionate about this topic because it played such a fundamental role in me becoming a happier human being. Let me know what you think, and I look forward to seeing you in my future videos. Take care.
Hey guys, do you get frustrated approaching women and then getting rejected? I'd like to invite you to my free 12-video training series where I'm going to show you how to make such an amazing first impression before you even say a word that rejection will soon become a thing of the past. See that button down there? Don't procrastinate anymore. Go ahead and click on it, and I look forward to working with you.